Boy, am I glad to see you. It's been a long time, but I'm glad we're able to be back together today. Hello, I'm David Green, and this is Life and Faith Together, a midweek lift, a chance for you to take a few minutes to reconnect this busyness of your life with the faith that you hold dear. I've been away for a period of time, and it was an unexpected transition that came along the way. I want you to think for just a moment about a time in your life when things didn't work out the way that you thought they might work out, where things ended up being a bit different from what you had hoped to have happened. And even though things didn't work out, it may have been something that in retrospect, looking back, a broken heart as a teenager or a young adult. And now when you look back years later, how grateful you are to be where you are and to see all the blessings that life has brought to you. Maybe it's something far and away more tragic, kind of wounds that are not healed on this side of heaven. The thing is, we all go through moments in life where we are broken and plans take a change. And today what we're going to contemplate is the words from one of the Psalms on what we do when things don't work out the way we thought they would, and where we can find the blessings of God. And in that, I think, we find our legacy. Today I'll be reading from Psalm 16. I'm reading from the English Standard Version of the Bible, and let's hear now the Word of God. The Miktam of David. Preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord, I have no good apart from you. As for the saints in the land, they are the excellent ones, in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those who run after another god shall multiply. Their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out, or take their names on my lips. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The lines from me have fallen in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my whole being rejoices. My flesh also dwells secure. For you will not abandon my soul to Sheol, or let your Holy One see corruption. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. What a beautiful poem, a psalm that we have here that's attributed to David. It's such a beautiful psalm. As I read through this, there is one phrase in particular, a couple of verses that really jump out to me here. It's verses 5 and 6, that jump out to me, and I want you to have a chance to hear these. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. What beautiful images we have of God given to us here. The sorrows of those who run after another god shall multiply. Their drink offerings of blood I'll not pour out. I'll not even name them on my lips. Because the Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The lines for me have fallen in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. And it finishes up, in your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are the pleasures forevermore. When we go through difficult times in life, it's like sometimes these things that we want to do, these things we want to be, they just slip through our hands. We can't grab hold of them even though we try. And what then do we do when our hopes and our dreams, our expectations slip through our hands? I've had a lot of time to think about that this past year. Earlier this year, in January, I had a pretty significant surgery on my lower back. I was in the hospital for the better part of a week, and a couple of months afterwards, I was asked to officiate a funeral service for someone that's not a member of the church, someone that I didn't know. I knew in my attempts to lead that worship service that something wasn't right. And I began then a series of pain management procedures, seeing physician after physician and having, again, a procedure after procedure, much more minor, but in rapid succession. I really thought when I stepped out in January that I might be out for a little over 3 months, but even giving a little margin of error, surely I would be back at work by May 1st, but it didn't happen. But I thank the congregation for giving me time to sort through that, to work with physicians and physical therapists. But eventually the insurance company made very clear to me that in their opinion, I was not going to be healthy enough to return to work for the foreseeable future. And they've placed me on long-term disability. As a result of that, I've retired from my 25 years' work as an ordained minister of the Word and Sacrament, serving God as a pastor of churches here in Texas, in North Carolina, and Virginia, even before that. I've had time to think about what it's like to have these expectations of 10 more years of work and clear goals and identifiable projects and teams working on them and good cooperation, and then it's as if it really did slip through my hands. It's a time to reflect on what legacy will be, if you will. A time of retirement is like that. Perhaps when you retire or have had a transition of jobs, you can look back and see that. For me, it's that image of things slipping through my hands that comes to mind, because I never really did have these things, because they never really did belong to me. They belonged to my God. In the 16th Psalm, there's a clear comparison of this or that. There's the evil ones and then the ones that follow God, the ones that forsake the blessings that we might have, and the ones whose blessings, whose legacy are secure. The Lord is my chosen portion. The Lord is my cup. You hold my lot. I don't know what you think of when you hear the word lot. Different images, the images of real estate, where you have metes and bounds defining the size of the lot where your home or your business might be placed. There's a defined lot in real estate. Perhaps also in sales. I know it's a terrible analogy that may not make sense to everybody, but I think of the tobacco markets in Pink Hill, North Carolina. No kidding, there are tobacco markets that have gone on there for more than a century. Small farmers will put together what little bit of tobacco they've grown or others have grown. The farmers, when I got to know them, were trying to get away from the addiction of growing tobacco and the money that it brought to grow other things, but still out of tradition, out of habit, out of need for profit. They would grow these small fields of tobacco, but several farmers would bring it together and fill a pallet, and there's a certain measurement. I don't know what it is, but that is a lot. And then at the auction, the buyers will go from lot to lot to lot to lot to lot, and then they will make their bids and buy each lot individually of tobacco. It may be like that in other kinds of commercial sales, where things are bought in lots, a collection of things that are brought together. Whatever my lot in life may be, it's in the palm, not of me, but it's in the hand of my God. You hold my lot. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. Now, what if the Lord were to let go and my lot were to fall to the ground? The lines for me have fallen in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. For me, the lines have fallen in pleasant places. As I've had to step back from parish ministry and retire, set and close the chapter on that part of my life, 10 years of preparation, 25 years of work, an enormous number of hours in almost a countless number of relationships that I've developed through the years. I look back and I see my lot in the hand of my Lord. My legacy is secure because it's not me or what I've done. It's what God has used me to do and accomplish. My lot, whatever it may be, is not mine. It's in the hand of my God. From my perspective, as I look around, the lines have fallen in pleasant places. In this month of November, a defining part of our calendar is Thanksgiving, which comes on the final Thursday of the month. And then after that, there's Black Friday and the holiday season begins. And even though stores are already running advertisements with Christmas jingles, and think about Thanksgiving, the time to give thanks. The times when we give thanks are not the times necessarily when things are good. The tradition of us as Americans having Thanksgiving actually goes all the way back to George Washington when, as president, he asked for the nation to set aside a day for giving thanks. The tradition really came back in earnest with President Lincoln. A time of distress, a time of bloodshed, of sacrifice, of unimaginable grief. He calls us to gather in our places of worship to give thanks. Perhaps you're looking back and around your life and you're thinking that things slipped through your hands and you have remorse and regrets. I encourage you to step back and look at it as if your life is held in the palm, not of your hand, but in the hand of our God. What is it there to have that lot securely held in a place that you can't lose it? Can't slip through your hands because you don't hold it. And when you look around and see where the lines of your life are drawn, look for the blessings. Look for them. If you're in a time of deep grief or unimaginable distress, it may be difficult for you to see them, but they are there. The people who love you, the people who want the very best for you, who hope for you, who pray for you, they're there. One other thing that I've had time to think about over time is the way God has worked in the course of my life. That it's really not us individually that do these things. It's Jesus bringing blessings to us. In the Bible, there's the story where Jesus takes bread and fish and he feeds a crowd of 5,000 for them. And then after that, he leaves the crowds because they want to make him king. And that's not what he's here to do. He eventually catches up with his disciples. He literally walks across the water to find them. And then they make their way across the Sea of Galilee to the other side. And the crowds follow after Jesus. They follow after Jesus. And he says to them, it wasn't Moses who gave bread in the wilderness for our fathers to eat. And he goes on explaining his relationship with them with these words. Jesus says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Whoever believes in me shall never thirst. I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Whoever believes in me shall not thirst. The crowds then say to him, we want this bread always. And Jesus goes on to use this as the religious part of the crowd grumbles against him. Jesus says to them, I am the bread that came down from heaven. And what happens? People in the crowds look at him because he's in an area where they knew his family, and they say, this is Jesus, the son of Joseph, isn't it? We know his father and mother, don't we? How does he now say, I've come down from heaven? And Jesus says to them, they haven't said this to him, but he hears them, and he says to them, do not grumble among yourselves. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I'll raise him up on the last day. They didn't understand. They rejected his teachings. It was nonsensical to them. But what Jesus gives for us is a word of faith and a word of hope. He is the bread of life. Jesus says, I am the bread of life. He is the bread that sustains us spiritually, physically, emotionally. He is the bread that brings us together around a common table. He is the one that supports us, not just individually, but collectively. Jesus says, I am the bread of life. As you go about the busyness of your day, do take time to stop and think about your legacy, your lot in life, if you will, and think of it as being held in the very hand of our God. Think also of your relationship with Jesus, who supports you and encourages you. And perhaps today you will be able to say, the lines for me have fallen in pleasant places. There is a beautiful inheritance for me. I pray that as you go about your week, the Lord my God bless you and redeem you and sustain you. See you next week. Thanks.